Hey there, friends and enemies, Jopa here again, and today I want to go through all of the various nominees and my vote in every single category at the Video Game Awards in 2024. I almost predicted all of the Game of the Year nominees. I did not get Black Myth Wukong. Instead, I said Helldivers 2 would be there, but otherwise I was pretty much spot on. So I'm going to go through, pick what I think will win, and also talk about what I would prefer to win, because that is a different conversation when you consider that the Video Game Awards are determined by journalists and experts, quote unquote. So I do feel like it's not going to be necessarily just the games that I think people enjoy the most. It's also ones that are technically very good. They had a wide stream appeal, mainstream appeal, and they also had a bit of cultural impact within the video game community. Anyway, for Game of the Year, we've got Astrobot, Balatro. I did say Balatro would be on here, which is pretty good that I'm glad that it's here. It is an underrated game for a lot of gamers, but not for people who know what the game is. Black Myth Wukong, I didn't think this would be on here, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I thought Helldivers 2 would make it just because of how big that game was, but I think Helldivers should have replaced Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. I will never consider a DLC or expansion among the Game of the Year nominees. I just don't think it belongs there personally, but I do think personally that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will win. It is the most complete AAA title of the year, and that's why I think it belongs there. Now we get to Best Game Direction. This is for creative vision and innovation. This is where it's a little bit different, because I do feel like while Black Myth Wukong had a lot of that, while I did enjoy the game direction overall of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, this one I believe should go to either Astrobot or Balatro, and I do think it will go to Astrobot at the end of the day. It was a breath of fresh air for the type of game that it is, and it just kind of came relatively out of nowhere to be a game that I think everyone's regarded as a extremely good title. Best Narrative. This one is interesting. We've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Hellblade 2, and then Silent Hill 2. I think personally this should go to Metaphor ReFantazio, although I can make an argument for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The problem is, this is good storytelling, but within a pre-existing framework, whereas this is a brand new standalone experience that I thought was very gripping overall. So that's why I think that should go to Metaphor ReFantazio. And if you notice, I think a lot of games are pretty close in these various categories. So that's why I think I'm going to vote in a lot of different directions when it comes to these games. I'm not necessarily going to vote, okay, this is the year that Shadow of the Erdtree or Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3 is going to just dominate every single category. I don't think that is the case this year. Best Art Direction. This is another one. I think this goes to Metaphor. It looks gorgeous like an anime. This is, if you didn't notice, is one of my favorite games of the year, and I do think it deserves to be recognized for sure. Best Score and Music. Final Fantasy is tremendous. I think while the other games, Astrobot, Stellar Blade, I'm glad that's on here, and even Metaphor, I think they're all very, very good, but for me, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the winner there, and it's Final Fantasy music just does something different to me for sure. Best Audio Design. This is kind of funny because everyone's complaining about this, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. I think this is going to go to Astrobot, to be honest. I think I could see it going to Silent Hill 2 because of the way they use sound to add those kind of tense moments, but the way Astrobot does audio design, I think, is the winner here for me personally. Next up, we've got the best performance. Now, I'm going to go with Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I just don't know. Melina Juergens for Hellblade 2 is crazy, but I think this game underperformed for expectations, so that's why that'll drop down. Star Wars Outlaw is another one that's kind of similar, so I do think this will go to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And we're going to see them win a lot of awards, I believe, this year. Innovation and accessibility. Now, this is one where there's a lot of games that gamers will be like, okay, Star Wars Outlaws, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. How does that make sense? For me personally, I think Dragon Age does a really good job here, and by and large, the folks who talk about accessibility in video games have lauded Dragon Age: The Veilguard as one of the better options for the year. And honestly, this is a game that I think deserved more love at the awards, but didn't make it onto a lot of different categories. Games for impact, for a thought-provoking game or social meaning or message. A lot of people are going to be angry about this whole category in general, but I think that overall this one should go to Tales of Kenzar. I know this one underperformed. The studio had troubles, but I do think this is one that a lot of people should be aware of because of what they did. Best ongoing. Now, Destiny 2 on here is interesting. Same thing with Diablo 4. Based upon how the community acts, Fortnite is always going to be up here. I'm not surprised, but I would go for Helldivers 2. They deserve some recognition. I know the other games are very good, but they've been going on for a while, and none of them did anything that was like so innovative that I think it should beat out Helldivers and what they've done over the course of this year. Now, moving on, we've got the Best community support. Baldur's Gate 3 obviously is going to be one that a lot of people will talk about. Helldivers, I think this is going to be No Man's Sky. What they've done for free is insane, and I do think they should be recognized for that. Balatro and Animal Well, I think, are going to dominate the conversation for this category, and I do think this is going to go to Balatro so they win an award after making it onto the Game of the Year, but not quite winning. So I do think this is where they really shine, and those are the two top contenders in this category, in my opinion. Best debut indie game, same thing. I would see Pacific Drive is another one, Plucky Squire. These are all very good indie games. I do wonder if it'll go to Balatro or if they might split the vote and may have this one go to Animal Well, because of that game, again, is very well received. A lot of people love it, and I do feel like it's one that deserves attention. I don't really play mobile games here, but I would say I think Wuthering Waves is one that's very interesting. Zona Zen, Triple Z, Mihoyo is done a great job. Balatro might win this one. Pokemon. This one has dominated the feed lately. I think this goes to Balatro again, but I could see this going to pretty much any game in that category, to be honest. Now, this one I think is pretty straightforward, and a lot of people are saying that the overall VR games this year have been a step forward. I've kind of enjoyed watching from afar. I don't have VR, but I think they've done a good job with the VR titles. But I do think this goes to Batman Arkham Shadow from what I've seen. Now, again, take that with a grain of salt just because I haven't played any of them myself. Best action game. Now, this is where, as much as I really enjoyed Space Marine 2 and Helldivers 2, I think this one goes to Black Myth Wukong to give them some recognition, even though, like I said, I don't see them winning Game of the Year. But it was such a massive success, and I do want to see them rewarded. This is where, again, I tend to split my votes a little bit if it's close, and if I think other games should be rewarded in different categories. Helldivers 2 was good, Space Marine 2 was good, but I think Black Myth Wukong, it just edges them out. Best action adventure, Star Wars Outlaws on here again is going to be very, very interesting. I think Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is underrated. Silent Hill 2 is very good, but I do think this will go to Astrobot, to be honest. Best RPG. This is where I wish Dragon Age was on here instead of Elden Ring. I think Dragon Age, might be blasphemous. I think it's better than Dragon's Dogma 2 as well. But I think as an overall RPG experience, Metaphor Ring Fantasio might be better. But I could see this going to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just because of how well received it was, how big it was. I heard a lot more people talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth compared to Metaphor Fantasio. Best fighting game. I think this is going to Dragon Ball's Sparking Zero was pretty big for a bit, and I think it's the only one on here that I could see actually winning based upon. I know it lost a lot of its players. Maybe Tekken, to be honest. I think it's got to be Tekken. Because Sparking Zero was massive. I'm gonna go with Sparking Zero. Trust my gut. I think Sparking Zero was very, very big. I think it surpassed Tekken as far as the hype, but it did fall off relatively quickly overall. Best family game. Let's see. This one I think Astrobot wins, although Legend of Zelda is probably a close second. We're 20 out of 29 here. Best sim or strategy game. For me, this one is Unicorn Overlord. I would love to see them recognized. I think it's the most underrated game of the year. Some people really like Frostpunk 2. This game, I didn't play, so I'd be very curious about that. Manor Lords is one that might get rewarded as well, but I do think Unicorn Overlord is my favorite by far. It is so good. Best sports game. Everyone's going to laugh at this because all these games are having their own problems right now. I don't know, man. I don't really care who wins this one. Maybe I'll just skip it because I think it's a bad category for me personally. I guess I'll go Topspin. I mean, FIFA might win EA Sports, but like I don't know, not for me. Best multiplayer. Again, my favorites. I don't think Call of Duty should win. I don't think Tekken. Maybe Tekken will win Best Fighting Game if it's on here for Best Multiplayer too. Space Marine 2 was pretty solid, but I think this goes to Helldivers 2 ultimately. I think Helldivers 2 is just a better package than Space Marine 2 at the end of the day. Best adaptation, my bad. So Tomb Raider I've heard is okay. Knuckles is solid, but it's between Arcane and Fallout. I think because Arcane is airing so late, I'm going to guess that Fallout wins it. I think Fallout was so massive and so well done, it deserves to win that category. Most anticipated game. This is going to be Grand Theft Auto 6. It's not going to be a comparison. There's no way. I'm personally looking forward to Ghost of Yotai. I'm looking forward to Monster Hunter Wilds, but Grand Theft Auto 6 is one of the most anticipated video games of all time, so I can't see that not winning. Content Creator of the Year. I barely know these people. I do know Queso a little bit, so that's a wild picture of him, by the way. Best esports game, I'm going to say Valorant. I think all these other games are very, very good. Valorant's the one that I've enjoyed the most. It might be League. A lot of attention on League with Arcane. A lot of attention on Counter-Strike 2, but I know there's a lot of problems there. Dota 2 just keeps chugging along. Mobile Legends, Bang Bang, I can't see winning, but who knows. Valorant's did a good job with their updates overall. Best esports athlete. Doesn't it have to be Faker? Isn't he continuing to dominate the scene? I'm going to go with Faker here. Best esports team. Yeah, a lot of League. Look at League of Legends, Dota 2. I'm at a loss here. I don't know who the best is here. So let's go Team Liquid. I'm probably wrong in that category, but I don't know very well. Anyway, this is where Player's Choice is going to pop in. 3 rounds, 3 chances to vote. This is going to happen on December 2nd, 5th, and then 9th. So I'll definitely be popping in for that and maybe post a video on that one as well. Let me know what you guys think, what I got right, what I got wrong, what you disagree with, what you agree with, all that kind of good stuff. My name is JoPa. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you all later.